urbanscape of traffic-clogged four-lane roads lined with bars, garish fast food emporiums, pawn shops, tattoo parlors, and neon-lit topless joints that have signs outside urging you to support our troops. Cross over into Moore County and you feel the stress quickly falling away as you begin to encounter peaceful horse farms, well-groomed golf courses, and quaint tree-lined streets flanked with funky old resort dwellings that often have forest floors of low-maintenance pine straw where their lawns should be. We support our troops, among other ways, by giving some of them a decent, normal, civilized place to live. A great many Special Forces officers and non-coms quietly raise their families here, just as quietly vanishing from our church pews and our PTA meetings when there's a crisis abroad. You lie in bed and hear wave after wave of heavy troop transport planes taking off and rumbling overhead at night, and you can only wonder what's going on half a world away. It was a single old photograph picked up at a yard sale that turned Diane McLellan into a history detective. She found it among a mixed bag of old black and white scenes from the golden age of Pinehurst, most of which involved golfers, racehorses, and hunting dogs. But she kept coming back to that one battered old print, bent and torn around the edges and aged to subtle tones of sepia and walnut brown. At first glance, the image looked like little more than a snapshot of a half-dozen guys killing time in front of a low building. But a more careful look revealed layer after layer of detail, and there were intriguingly cryptic, handwritten inscriptions around the edges. It wasn't hard to guess who the 6 men in the foreground were, hotshot photographers, apparently from big city newspapers and wire services. But what were they doing down south in Smallsville? Covering a major story of some kind, perhaps. They wore well-pressed three-piece suits with razor-sharp creases in the pants and folded handkerchiefs in their breast pockets. They were standing in a dirt street or yard in front of a simple one-story wooden building, evidently during a recess in some kind of official proceeding. All 6 proudly displayed the latest thing in state-of-the-art imaging devices, bulky speed-graphic cameras with shiny new leather gadget bags and identical flash attachments the size of satellite dishes. The ample margins of the photograph displayed a random assortment of semi-decipherable notes. Larry Nuts Bird, read the large, flourishing signature at the bottom. Somebody named Al identified himself as the city boy from the country. In the lower right corner was this message: "Hope you are in Cuba when I spend honeymoon in NY. A.E. Scott, Wash, D.C." But it was the scribbled notation angled across the upper left with one word she could only guess at that grabbed Diane and wouldn't let her go. "Trial of the Davidson story. It may be murder, but who can tell? One of those things. Pinehurst, N.C." The Davidson story? Murder? What was that all about? Unable to put that riddle out of her mind, Diane asked around about who might be able to shed some light on it. A couple of people directed her toward Chris Januzik at the Tufts Archives in the heart of Pinehurst, who knew where most of the figurative bones were buried in the village. The archives, named for the resort's founding family, contained a wealth of documents and artifacts. Once Chris, who happened to be in her last day on the job, had had a look at the stack of old photos, she was quickly able to identify many of the people in them. But when she looked at the picture of the guys standing in front of the building and read the inscription in the corner, she exclaimed, "Oh my God, that's the Elva Statler Davidson case!" Chris then pulled her chair closer to Diane's and began filling her in. "Have you heard of the Statler hotel chain? Well, Elva was an adopted daughter of Ellsworth Statler. She married Henry Bradley Davidson in January 1935, right after inheriting the better part of $1 million. On Valentine's Day, about 6 weeks after their marriage."